Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into something that can really make or break a WordPress site. User experience,
Oh,
or UX, as the cool kids call
yeah.
it. That's all those little things that can make or break a visitor's experience and send them clicking that back button before you can even blink.
And you've come to the right place because, well, let's face it, a clunky website is kind of like a shop with a messy, disorganized storefront. People might not even want to come inside.
It's true. First impressions are everything.
Yeah.
And speaking of first impressions, you know what really makes me want to run for the hills? Waiting for a website to load. I mean, come on, we're living in the age of instant gratification now.
3 seconds.
3 seconds, that's it. That's all you've got to convince someone to hang around.
Yeah, 3 seconds. If your site doesn't load, that's it. You've lost them.
It's true. So I'm guessing site speed is public enemy number one when it comes to bad UX then, right?
It's a big one for sure.
So where do we even start to fix something like that?
Well, luckily there are tools for that, like Google Page Speed Insights. It's free, and it's like a diagnostic tool, but for your website. You plug in your URL, and it analyzes everything, tells you what's slowing you down from bulky images to messy code. It even gives you tips for fixing it all.
Okay, so it's like a website health check.
Yeah.
But with actionable advice.
Exactly. Think of it like a personal trainer for your website.
Okay.
And one of the things that often flags is image size, which can be a big drag on loading times.
Oh yeah, images. It's like they're beautiful, they make a website, but man, they can be huge files.
They can be real bandwidth hogs if they're not optimized, and that's key.
So true. I remember back in the day when I'd try to email a friend a video, and it would take like a whole afternoon. And then I learned about compressing files, and it blew my mind.
I think your website image is the same way. Optimizing those images is like packing for a trip. You wouldn't bring your winter parka if you're going to the beach, right? You want to pack light and smart. And for websites, that means compressing those images. You can even do it before you upload to WordPress.
So many tools out there to help with that.
TinyPNG is a lifesaver. Shrinks those files without ruining the image quality.
Smaller files, faster load times, happy visitors.
Got it. What about caching? Is that something we should be thinking about too?
Ooh, caching. Caching is one of those magical things that goes on in the background and honestly makes a world of difference.
It sounds a little mysterious though, caching.
It is, but in a good way. Think of it this way. Imagine a restaurant kitchen, right? If they had to make every single dish from scratch, every single time someone ordered it, it would take forever.
And some hangry customers.
Right. That's where prepping comes in. It's all about having those go-to ingredients ready, the most popular dishes maybe even partially made in advance, so the chef doesn't have to start from zero every single time.
Okay, I'm getting it, I think. So caching is like having a well-stocked pantry for your website.
Exactly. It helps your site serve up those pages lightning fast because it's not having to do all that work every single time.
Are there any plugins you'd recommend for that? Absolutely, there are tons. WP Optimize is a great one. It makes setting up caching a breeze.
Easy peasy. So we've got image optimization, caching. What else is there? It feels like we're forgetting something pretty major here.
What could it be? Oh, right. We can't forget about hosting. Because your hosting provider, that's like the bedrock of your website.
Okay, so we've got our website pantry stocked. We're using optimized images, but the foundation of the house is shaky. It's more like we built a beautiful house, fully decorated, pantry's full, but it's on a fault line.
That's a great way to put it. Your hosting provider can make or break your website's speed.
So what should we be looking for in a hosting provider, to avoid that fault line?
Well, one thing that can really supercharge your site speed is a CDN.
A CDN.
Yeah, a content delivery network. It's like having a network of servers all over the world.
Okay.
Each server has a copy of your website's data, and when someone visits your site, the CDN automatically serves them the content from the server that's closest to them.
So instead of my website data being stuck in traffic on the way to a visitor, it's like it's taking a shortcut.
Exactly, like a high-speed rail line.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Are there any hosting providers that you recommend that offer CDNs?
Yeah, tons. Kinsta's a good one. They actually include a CDN in their plans.
Oh, nice. So they handle it all for you.
Pretty much. And they have a bunch of other cool performance features too, like edge caching, which again helps serve up your website even faster.
It's like they're obsessed with speed over there.
Right, but in a good way. Okay, so we've got our website's foundation in a good place, our images are optimized, we've got caching set up, and a CDN on board. What about the actual design and layout of the website itself? I mean, even if it loads fast, if it's a confusing mess, I'm gone.
Totally. It's like walking into a store that's beautifully decorated, but you can't find what you're looking for because it's so disorganized.
Exactly. A well-designed website is like a well-organized store. Everything has its place, and it's easy to find what you're looking for. We're talking clear headings, short paragraphs, bullet points.
Give those eyeballs a break.
Yes, exactly. And this is where the WordPress block editor really shines.
Oh, I love the block editor.
Mhm.
I was a little resistant at first, but now, honestly, I don't know what I'd do without it.
It's a game changer, right? You can add images, quotes, different
I
sections.
know, it's like having a drag-and-drop design studio at your fingertips.
Exactly.
But even with all the best design features in the world, if the content itself is, like, boring or hard to understand, then what's the point?
But for sure, content is still king, but presentation is queen.
Ooh, like that.
It's true. Think about it. It's like dressing up for a job interview. You might have all the qualifications, but you still want to make a good impression.
Okay, that's a good analogy. I'm sold. So, how do we make sure our content is, dressed to impress?
Well, the first thing to remember is that people read differently online than they do in print. Online, people tend to skim.
It's true. I do too.
We all do it. So you want to make your content easily scannable, make it easy to find what you're looking for. Headings, subheadings, bullet points, short paragraphs, all that good stuff.
It's like giving those eyeballs a clear path, right? No speed bumps.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to use visuals to break up your text, too. Images, infographics, videos.
It's true. A well-placed image can work wonders.
That can make your content so much more engaging and easier to understand.
Agreed. Okay, we've talked about site speed, hosting design, and content. Is there anything else that can really make a difference in the user experience? So many things to consider. I'm ready to hear about these other UX essentials.
Well, let's talk about plugins. You know those tempting little add-ons that can do like a million different things for your site?
Don't get me started on plugins. I feel like I've tried them all.
It's easy to go overboard.
So true.
Because they're so tempting. But it's kind of like, too many cooks in the kitchen. Right.
Too many cooks spoil the broth.
Exactly. Too many plugins, and suddenly your site is slow, it's buggy.
And don't even get me started on the security risk.
Oh, yeah. Security is huge. Because every plugin you add is potentially a door that a hacker could use to get into your website. So you really have to be careful about which ones you use and make sure they're from reputable developers and keep them updated.
Always keep them updated. Okay, so plugins, choose wisely, be security-minded. What about forms? We've all seen those forms that are like a mile long, asking you for every detail under the sun just to subscribe to a newsletter.
It's the worst. A good form, it's like a quick handshake, short, sweet, to the point.
Get in, get out, right?
Exactly. Just ask for the information you absolutely need and no more.
Make it painless. Okay, now I want to talk about accessibility because I think that's something that's often overlooked, and it's so important. It's not just about, being nice. It's about making sure that everyone can access your content no matter what.
Absolutely. Accessibility is essential for a good user experience, and honestly, it's just the right thing to do.
So true.
We're talking about making sure that people with disabilities can access and enjoy your website just as easily as anyone else.
Right. So what does that look like in practice? What are some things we should be doing to make sure our websites are accessible?
Well, for starters, there are these guidelines called the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG for short, and they lay out all sorts of recommendations for making your website accessible to people with various disabilities.
WCAG. Got it. It's like a roadmap for accessibility then.
Exactly. And it covers things like color contrast, making sure that there's enough contrast between your text and your background so that people with low vision can read it.
That makes sense. What else?
Alt text for images is another big one. Alt text is a description that you add to an image so that people who are using screen readers, because they can't see the image, they can still understand what the image is.
It's like subtitles for your images.
Yes.
Love it. I feel like this deep dive is really opening my eyes to all these things I never even thought about before.
It's all about shifting your perspective, putting yourself in the shoes of your visitors.
Speaking of which, we haven't even talked about media. Images, videos, those are so important for engaging visitors, but they can also really bog down a website.
Tell me about it.
How do you strike that balance? Beautiful, engaging media, but also fast loading times.
Well, one thing you can do is use lazy loading.
Lazy loading. Okay, that sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
So with lazy loading, instead of loading all of the images and videos on a page at once, the website will only load the ones that are actually visible on the screen at that moment.
So it's like those streaming services that only download the part of the movie you're watching instead of the whole thing at once.
Exactly. It takes the pressure off your website's server and
Yeah,
makes everything load much faster.
I love it. Okay, so much great information. Before we wrap things up, any final words of wisdom for our listeners about UX?
Just remember that creating a great user experience, it's a journey. It's not like you just do these things once and you're done. It's an ongoing process of testing, experimenting, and really paying attention to how people are interacting with your site.
And don't be afraid to get feedback.
Right.
Ask people what they think, what's working, what's not working.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about creating a great experience for your visitors.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into WordPress UX.
Until next time.
Remember, a great website is more than just a pretty design. It's about creating an enjoyable, engaging, and accessible experience for everyone who visits. And as always, thanks for tuning in.